Hey, good morning, good Wednesday morning. Our assigned Bible reading today comes from Job chapter 29. We made the difficult decision to cancel Wednesday services this week. There's still plenty of snow and ice around, even around our campus and in our parking lot. And there's a forecast of some precipitation that could be wintry even tonight. So we've made that decision, and Lord willing, we'll be together on Sunday and looking forward to that. Church council meeting in the afternoon, deacons meeting in the afternoon, business meeting in the evening, some things that we've got to take care of. So wanting to get all of that in. Baptism on Sunday. No, baptism is going to be postponed to the 15th. I forgot about that. Baptism postponed to the 15th. We couldn't just do it on the 8th. So 15th will cover that. But we're in Job chapter 29. And actually it gives us some keen insight into the details of Job's life and character. In chapter 1, we read that Job was one who feared God and shunned evil. That's a very general and broad statement, although it is particular in the sense of his high moral character. But here in Job 29, Job is recounting the days gone by, and he tells us a lot of things about the person that he was. He says, when my children were gathered around me. He went on to say that I was a father to orphans. He said widows rejoiced to see me. He said I was a defender of the oppressed, things that weren't necessarily summed up in those words about his fearing God and shunning evil, but we see more insight into his character. He was one who was revered in the gates. He would speak to other leaders in his community. He was one that when he spoke, he must have spoken with wisdom and discretion and conviction, because he would silence others as he spoke. He was that kind of person that usually when he spoke, the case was closed, the matter was settled. And throughout this 29th chapter, Job is just saying, I remember when, I remember when, I remember when. And primarily in verses 2, 4, and 5, he says, when God was watching over me, when the favor of God was upon my tent. He says in verse 5, when the Almighty was with me. Well, in a very Old Testament sense, Job still had the presence of God. He wasn't experiencing that. He wasn't aware of that. Through all of the revelation God's given us in his word, we know as believers that we can have the full presence of God through the indwelling Holy Spirit. Job didn't have that, but he did have the presence of God in a powerful way. And he will know that before we get to the end of the book. And actually, at the pace that we're going, we'll be through the book of Job next week. And so I appreciate you reading and following along. But these words ring with sadness as Job looks back to what he believes he has lost, losing the presence of God in his life, losing both his family and his influence. And even the good works that he had done being of no consequence or no value now. So it's going to take a turn. We'll be rejoicing with Job in chapter 42. But until then, we walk with him through these valleys of despair. And he's going to speak for several more chapters. But that's where we are today. No services on this Wednesday at New Friendship Baptist Church. Wanted to share a little bit of my thoughts from Job chapter 29, our assigned reading, and look forward to the Lord's day and our being together. May God richly bless you.